Hey folks, it's Roy here from Aurora Infotech in Orlando, and today I want to have a discussion to sort of, show you the similarities between a gate that may sit at your residential community, or even access controls that, for example, may be at the door to your facility, or even in the elevator of the building where you may work, and that of cybersecurity, and specifically as it relates to a firewall. And so the firewall is a device that sits between your network and the internet, and it acts sort of as the traffic cop or police to say who may come in and who may go out. Much like the gate that you have at your community that has, somewhat a registry of known persons who may enter the premise if they have a key fob or a gate control or some type of code, etc. A firewall has rules in it that sort of establishes the same type of characteristics. But now here's the issue, and I know that a lot of us have done this, perhaps on many occasions. How many of you have ever pulled up to a gate of a community or a door of a facility or even the elevator where there's an access control and you did not have your fob or your code, etc., and you just sort of tailgated someone else coming into the network, into the community, I should say? The same can happen of your firewall if it's not programmed, managed, and maintained properly. You see, attackers out there are very, very smart, and they've figured out, that they can sort of allow certain traffic, piggyback and embed their payload or their malicious, code inside of traffic that would definitely get past your firewall and get into your network. Now, you may say, well, what can we do about this? Well, if you look in some communities have gone a step further now and have put, camera systems to mitigate, or let's say curb, the issue of people tailgating and coming into the community. But that's a reactive technology. And it's reactive because, nobody's really there watching the cameras 24/7. And in most cases, it requires somebody to actually say that something happened before they actually go back and review that footage. It's the same principle in your firewall. If you have somebody who's breached the perimeter of your network and breached the firewall coming in, you may have logs that are being generated in the firewall, but if they're not set up and maintained properly, and if they're not observed in real time, meaning that you have your firewall being monitored and managed 24/7 by a security operations center, those logs more than likely will be overwritten, and we really have to wait until somebody raises a red flag that something is happening in the network before somebody else may actually go and take a look at and see if they can do any tracking in the firewall. Now, the FBI shares with us that most data breaches or network hacks that take place, the attackers are sitting in the network for 3 to 14 months before they even raise a red flag. We call that dwell time, and that's the most dangerous time because that's where they're really exfiltrating and taking data out of your network without you knowing. Now, similar, and you may then say, well, how could they do that without me really discovering it? Why is there that no red flags are raised when they're taking this data out? Well, here's the issue. Somebody comes into your community and they tailgate that gate. Once they're in, they're free to roam the premise, right? Same thing as in your network. Once they get into your network, they're kind of free to roam the premise unless you have, a proper management and monitoring system in place that's looking for security related events. But here's the other thing, going back to that question. When you're leaving a community and you pull up to the gates open automatically and let you out, because much like a firewall, it's meant to really protect the network from outsiders coming in more so than it is from insiders getting out. And so once they're in your network and they're copying this data, they're leaving the network. The firewall is just saying, hey man, go at it. You're coming from inside of the network. I see you as a trusted source. You may leave the network at will. And now here's the thing that a lot of people do not realize is that traffic that originates from inside of your network going out to the internet, when it leaves and goes through that firewall, it's almost like, being at a sporting event that you paid access to get into and you need to get outside. You get a stamp on your wrist so that when you come back in, you're a known trusted source. Much the same happens in a firewall. And so traffic that's leaving kind of gets that golden stamp. Older firewall technology, not the new, what I call next generation technology, will sort of let that back in on, hey, you know, I know who you are. No different than if you were leaving a residential community where there is a guardhouse, you're a visitor there, and as you're passing through the gate, you wave at the guard, and at the last moment realize, oh my God, I forgot my phone back at my friend's house, and you do a U-turn right around the guardhouse and come back around. The guard will more than likely let you back in because he just saw you coming out of the gate. So you have that, you know, that stamp of trust. And so that's why, folks, it's easy for attackers, once they get into your network, to roam about, to take your data, copy it, sit in your network for months and months at a time, stealing data, and in some cases, even using your network to launch attacks on others without even raising a red flag. So I hope that with that correlation between the gated community and the firewall, that you have a much better understanding on some of the issues and challenges we face with security, but more so why it's important to have a security audit carried out, to have somebody, an expert, come in, take a look at your firewall, see if your technology is up to par, and more so, you should have a newer firewall implemented that is constantly getting updates from a security operations center so that any threats that are out there that surfaces on the horizon after the fact that the hardware was physically installed can be updated remotely and managed and programmed to identify, detect, respond, and remediate any threats that may be coming down the pipe. Folks, I hope that this was a helpful tip for you. Please like us on our YouTube channel. Continue to share this and send this out to others. And please provide us with feedback. We love feedback, good, bad, or indifferent. The only way that we can get better at what we're doing is to have you let us know how we're doing it. Thanks, take care, keep crushing it, and we'll catch up on the next video.